We're talking about the one skincare ingredient that gets more hype, more confusion, and more TikTok drama than any other. Retinoids. I wanted a drum roll. Some say they're the fountain of youth in a bottle, others swear they ruin their skin. And we're going to get into it, how they work, and how you, as a professional, can use them to treat acne, pigmentation, aging, and everything in between. If you're new here, welcome to Beauty Babble, where we talk shop about the real stuff behind running a beauty business. I'm Darine, a brand and content strategist and former esthetician.
And I'm Suzanne Dias, certified esthetician with over 30 years in the industry, spa owner, and now an educator mentor for beauty pros.
And today we're getting into retinol, retinoids. See, I've already messed it up because there's retinol, retinoid, retinal.
Retinal.
Suzanne, why don't you give us a definition?
Well, okay, so retinoids are compound chemically related to retinoic acid, the active form of vitamin A that binds the retinoid receptors in the skin, affecting how cells behave, particularly how they grow, shed, and repair. There's so many, you're right, there's so many ways of saying it and how they're using it and its understanding. And really, it comes down to whether they're prescription or over the counter, meaning what we can use too, right? So that's kind
So
of the difference.
what can beauty pros use that isn't prescription?
Well, in your own product line, it'd be good to know which one you're using. And there's some mild to moderate ones. Retinol is a moderate one, whereas retinal is, so there's Retinol, and then there's Retinal. So retinol, that's, I think, where we get
Mhm.
confused sometimes with it. The retinal, Al at the end, is moderate over the counter, and it's usually less irritating, and that's why you're probably going to find it not as much in products. But the most common one in skincare products that we will see is actually the retinol, the OL at the end, and that's mild to moderate over the counter. So even your, Sephora products, your other department store kind of places, different skincare, but that one's the most common in skincare. But there's also retinol with a YL, palmonate, and that's over the counter. That's very, very mild, which is quite nice to use too, because it's often that beginner type of retinoid that you can start to use, or sensitive skins. And there's still, sensitive skins want to do anti-aging, or sensitive skin might have acne or pigmentation. So it's kind of that less potent level.
Mhm.
Whereas you're getting into the other ones, tretinoin is a retinonic acid, and that's a prescription level. So you're not going to see that unless you're working in a med spa or under a doctor or potentially maybe a nurse practitioner, medical aesthetics, that end of things. Fast acting, and actually, fun fact, it's the most researched ingredient, of course, because it falls under the medical side of things.
Oh,
Hmm.
interesting.
And there's the other one that is prazotin. Am I saying that right? No, I can't even say it. Sorry, I'm terrible with those
Oh.
things. That is a high strength one as well, and often used
Oh.
for that high acne, stage 3, stage 4 level, and even psoriasis. It's a prescription level as well.
I'm going to
Different.
share actually this table that you have made because, yeah,
Yeah,
some of these names are very hard.
that's helpful.
So the tretinoin, this is the highest one, is what you were saying. This
Yes.
is the prescription, it's medical. We're not
Mhm.
touching that. This is the other one,
Prazotin.
tazarotene. I'm butchering that. That's also a prescription one.
That's right.
All right. And then this one is the next one. Did you talk about this one?
No, I was getting to that one. That is a
Okay.
mix between over the counter and prescription, which is interesting. I don't personally know enough about that one, but I would just be researching it if I wanted to know more. Gentler
And I'm just going to
option.
say the name for our listeners who aren't watching this on
Yeah.
YouTube, adapalene.
Yeah. And those are
And then you
the
talked
other,
about these
yeah.
ones. This is
Retinol,
retinol, and retinal.
retinol. That's why I was saying the end of the word is an AL or an O or the YL. And it all, if you're saying it quickly, you don't know which one it is. So when your clients say, yes, I use a retinol, Ask them which one. Find out the
Yes.
product so you understand what they're actually using. I think that's where we think it's all the same, and they'll show different names for it. Yeah. Well, and how would we use this? I think that's a big thing too, is that, well, one is age. Oh, Darine, you have to share your story.
Oh, yes. So we all know we've seen, these articles of kids using retinol, but my daughter had a birthday party, 10th birthday party. We had a sleepover and the kids were getting ready for bed. I say bed because they didn't actually end up sleeping. And so I go down to the basement and to check on them, and one of her friends had pulled out her Sephora product and it said on it retinol, and she's passing it around. And these are like 10-year-olds with their skin, like they've got baby skin. Like their skin is absolutely flawless. They do not need retinol. So I just made sure that I'm like, oh, maybe don't share that because some people might react or whatever. But I think I had been a little too late. I know my daughter didn't put any on, but I know some of the other kids did. And you can have a reaction to that. Their skin is way too young.
Hmm. Yeah, typically you might see it in the I'll say tweens to teens if they have starting to get bright. That you'll some doctors will actually subscribe it to them, but that's for a condition, not because you're saying you're using it. And I think this is a great opportunity for beauty pros out there is to maybe have the ingredient or topic that's out there when you're following social media. What's the trend? What's going on out there? Who are these kids watching and doing? And put up there a little bit of blurb about it. So talk to me about this, especially if your kids are using it or want to know more. So you can educate your clients and you're tapping into helping them with their kids. Like if you were my client and you saw that in my room, you would have been, oh my God, that just happened. What is this stuff? And then I become that professional, explain to my client more about it, right? I think these
Hmm.
are little opportunities that we kind of miss on as professionals in the room. But this isn't going away. This has been an ingredient around forever. Again, the trends come and go, but this one sticks around, I think, is a big one. Because everybody's in the anti age or the pro aging world. Our 10-year-olds
Hmm.
are. Look at that.
Yeah. And I think, and you had said this before, but it is for more than just anti-aging. Also for clearing up breakouts and stuff. What else can it be
Pigmentation,
used for?
hyperpigmentation.
Hmm.
The one thing that, if we look at us deep in the layers of the skin, what's happening when it's an acne skin or a breakout, even if it's just comedone breakout, like stage 1 to 2 kind of thing. It's not full on pustule level, but it's, the pores getting clogged because of the comedone, because of the blackhead or that type of idea. So when you look at the buildup of dead skin on the surface and keeps building up, and if we are naturally releasing that buildup, it allows, as we like to say, the skin breathe, normalize, I guess you could say, on that way.
Hmm.
But if you look at it that way, well, what is the purpose behind our anti-aging? The same process, right? So it's always
Yeah.
about trying to keep the skin from building up too much dead skin cells, right?
Hmm.
And even when it comes to the melanin or hyperpigmentation of the skin, it actually is going a little to the same idea that is going to help the layers of that pigmentation as it builds up. That's hyperpigmentations in the upper part. We're not talking melasma, that's a lot deeper, right? But you're allowing that to slough off, which begins to lighten it. But the
Hmm.
biggest thing out of everything is they have to be using an SPF. They have to be putting it on again throughout their day if they're exposed to the sun more than,
Yeah.
that hour or two, depending on what Fitzpatrick they are, right? But, can you use retinoids in the summer? Yes, you can, depending on what you're using. What is it, a mild form? How are you helping coach your clients through it through the summer? Hats, SPFs, they want to take care of their skin. And usually that's where we fall aside, I guess you could say, is that our clients are not taking it as serious as they should.
Hmm.
And I think that's a big part of it. Like you said, like I don't know, does the parent know that this happened, that their kid is using that product? It's hard to
And
see.
maybe
Not
they
always.
don't like, yeah. It's confusing because there's so many different kinds. It's confusing for the professionals sometimes. It's easy
Yeah.
for it to be confusing to, you know, the non-professionals who are just like, "Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
here it is.
And if you
It's
think
good
if you
for."
get that retinoids altogether they're a game changer. They really are when used properly. And more is not always better. You hear me, I'm a broken record when I say it. It's just a little bit at a time. It is an acid base, I guess we should look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Different degrees of it, right? I remember when it first came out, as I mentioned, how long I've been in the industry, that a client came in one time and she was literally shedding like a snake, her face, and she had just had a vitamin A treatment, a retinoid treatment from the dermatologist. And I was like, oh my God. And I forgot what percentage it was. It was like a 50. It was crazy. And she didn't go outside. She had to stay indoors and go through did her skin look great later on? Sure. But not everybody wants to have that downtime, right? Not
Yeah.
everyone can afford the downtime. And how are you going to stay at home all the time? But I
Yeah.
mean, that's a long time ago, folks. When I say this, it's come a long ways. But I think it's the other thing is they don't realize, like for acne and breakouts, is actually an anti-inflammatory too. So that helps to take that inflammation out of the skin. It's not just about, you know, that anti-age or the acneic side of it. It helps to bring down, fight the bacteria as well. And a big thing is that it turns over, like it speeds up the turnover of the cells, which is the healing side, which we want from the acne or breakouts, I should say.
No wonder it's so popular.
Right? Yeah. Is it preventative? Sure. But how often do you need it? So that comes into the skin thickness, the
Yeah.
age of your client. What else are they using? I mean, I think that's what we forget that, you know, I remember having a brief conversation with someone. They were asking, someone knew me and said, oh, you should ask her. She knows about skincare. And I was like, oh, sure. I got a couple minutes, right? I'm like, well, I don't know what you're using. And it's okay. Well, you're using retinols. And she used two. She didn't know she was using two different types. Remember the OL and the AL and the
Mm-hmm.
YL? She's using two different ones. One of them was twice a week, the other one was twice a week. Plus, she was exfoliating with a scrub. She was doing mini enzyme masks, and she was 23 years old. And so I begin by
What
teaching
was
people,
I
sorry,
have more questions. Like how was her
with
skin
all different
reacting to all
products.
that?
She was dry. She complained of dryness. She's sensitive. I go,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see why you're rosy cheeks and you're feeling dry. And then I showed her, like, once I figured out the product, and then I saw how often you're using it. I said, I just cut back.
Hmm.
You're only 23 years old. How often your skin turns over. Yes, we want that, but more does not prevent aging. Biologically, you're set at that age. Yes, there could be external factors that age you quicker, sun tanning,
Mm-hmm.
suntan beds. It's the sun mainly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lifestyle, I guess, sure.
Yeah.
Genetics, yes, but it's mainly that. So once I said that to her, like, and I ran into her a week later, and she saw a difference right away. I said, stop using all of that and don't exfoliate your
Mm-hmm.
skin for the next 5 days. I said, just give it some time. Use your hyaluronic. Use this. She had a mask that was like a soothing one for the redness. I go, use
Mm-hmm.
that for the next few days and just see how that goes. And she goes, oh my God. So then I just said to her, listen, I don't know the brand very well. I'm being honest, I don't sell that brand, so I don't know it. But just knowing the
Mm-hmm.
ingredient, why don't you try doing this and then think seasons as well? Like, so then she's like, okay. And then it was probably, I don't know, months later, I asked her, how you doing? She goes, oh my God, that was a game changer. Everything was so different about it. And again, it's just understanding what the ingredient is. So I know that we're taught, especially nowadays, we're taught a brand and how to use the brand in our trainings. Yes, we need to know that, but you still need to know ingredients. So you need to help your clients outside of, you know, the treatment room as well, right? If this thing
Yeah.
comes up. Yeah. The other one, pigmentation. This is interesting because what some might not know, and because we were talking about this ingredient, it made me deep dive again because it's been a little while since I deep dove into this one. But I did forget that it actually disrupts the melanin transfer in from the melanocytes into the dead skin cells, which was interesting. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm a little geeky when it comes to that stuff, right? But that's
Mm-hmm.
how come it helps hyperpigmentation, not just the sloughing off of the skin cells, but it's also what's happening when the melanin's transferred into those spot areas, I guess you could say. So it helps to diminish that transfer into there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, how do you partner with the retinoids that you're using? So thinking about what could work with it. So you want to think of brightening agents, vitamin C. You want to think niacinamide is great. Now, in respects to that, just remember that niacin is a very active, and you
Hmm.
want to increase circulation. Same with vitamin C, but just knowing what you're going to use, how you're going to use it. So understanding, it's a little bit of a puzzle thing for each person, right? You got to put the puzzle together for each
Yeah.
person to figure that out. But they work really well together. And azelaic acid actually is another ingredient that works really well with a retinoid as well. So it helps to effectively use the retinoid better for the skin reaction of less melanin in those areas.
Oh, cool.
So you're
Okay.
not whitening the skin, you're not bleaching the skin, you're just changing almost like the chemistry of the skin and how it's releasing the melanin into those areas.
Hmm.
hmm So one other thing that I should mention too is people are really scared for retinoids for the Fitzpatricks, the higher Fitzpatricks.
Yeah.
So if we think back, what did we learn about acids and peels and Fitzpatrick? So no different. If they're that higher Fitzpatrick, 4, 5, 6, you want to do, very slow, but very mild, not
Hmm.
too fast. You don't want that, that rebound pigmentation effect that happens, but you could, something to buffer with it, the milder form. Are you using it maybe alternating nights or only a couple times a night to see like what's happening with them and just really slowly introduce it? And again, it's based on what brand are you using, and
Yeah.
talk to that brand representative, the educator, to help guide you through those things too. I think that's really important on that side. But in the end, if you want it to work properly, you need to, well, one, use it properly, but SPF is really essential. But it can be used all year
Yes.
round as well, right? It just depends which one you're using,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. And I tell clients, like, it's non-negotiable. You have to use an SPF,
Always.
right?
All
And
year
then
round.
tell them why.
And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
even you saying like, can you use retinoids in the summer or whatever? Like, we need to be using our SPF all year round. So if you are going to use retinoids in the summer, then it's just you just have to be a bit more vigilant.
hmm The other side of it I didn't mention too is that because it's doing what it's doing, it also helps with other treatments that you're going to be introducing. Maybe it's a
Hmm.
prep, right? Maybe it's for their home care. It's prepping them for their hyaluronic because you're, lifting off the dead skin, you're adding more moisture with this other mask, and hyaluronic's going to work better because you're preparing the skin. So there's a lot of fun ways to do it as you get more comfortable, I think, doing it. But in the end, just generally and keeping on top and keep reminding, like I said, I went back and went, oh yeah, I'm gonna deep dive a little more about that. And like you can't remember everything. So be
Hmm.
okay with to continually learn and
Yeah.
grow with it. And they're also finding new things all the time. So I think that's the
Hmm.
fun part of it too, right? But yeah, like a lot of people forget or maybe weren't even taught that it actually helps to disrupt that melanin transfer for the hyperpigmentation is why you get that nice bright lightening of the skin.
Yeah. I think it's been overshadowed by the anti-aging and the acne treatment because I had it prescribed when I was younger, when I had like more
For
acneic
acne?
skin and all that.
Yeah,
And I
the
did
breakouts.
have like I couldn't go to work one day. I was at the time I was working at the front desk at a spa and I'm like, my face is completely peeled. And then after that was a lesson learned. I went after that, I'm like, I'm gonna take it, I got into skincare and learned it
Mhm.
and went the slow and steady route.
Yeah, so I think if you look at I'll say almost any age based on the condition, what are we doing? Why are we using it? And I think if that's what you look at first, and then choosing which one you're going to use, like that beginner level, and
Mhm.
slowly introduce it. We're talking esthetician, we're not talking medical grade. And maybe you're trying it, have the client using it overnight. It's only one time a week, then the following week, 2 times if they're sensitive, and giving gaps in between. So that layering idea of introducing it into it, start out slow, like I said, one maybe 2 times a week. And then depending on the skin, like what's the goal, acneic, hyperpigmentation, whatever it may be, if
Mhm.
there's that condition behind it, or let's add the anti-aging, someone's older, just getting into using products like this and they could really use, they have a lot of fine lines, elasticity of the skin, the dead skin buildup. Sure, you can act on that as well, the same idea, where maybe the skin will gradually tolerate to 3 times a week to 4 times a week. But again, it all is age, skin condition, thickness of skin. What else are they doing with it, right?
Mhm.
And then eventually you can do that sandwich where you're doing your moisturizer, your retinol and another moisturizer. Like you can play with that idea as well. Just it's almost like you're doing that. Think of like a vitamin where it's a slow release. It's that
Hmm.
same concept. You could do it that way as well. And always pair it with the SPF and non-negotiable. And you got to be 30 to 50 on the SPF every morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I need to go put my retinol cream on.
I know. I know. I was looking, going, God, I don't know. Last time I had, I got to use up
Yeah.
what I got. I have to do that. I got to stop doing this and jump into these ingredients and make me want to dive into more.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to use them all. I love
Exactly.
it. This was a good one though, and I hope it gave us all some clarity. And I think the important thing as professionals to remember that we have the responsibility to guide and like clear up some myths for our clients too, because there is so much information out there and so much stuff on social media that is not
The noise.
always, yeah, not
The
always
noise.
accurate.
The
So
noise. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
awesome. Okay, great. I love it. Hopefully, you all enjoyed listening to this episode and make sure you subscribe for the next one.